very confronting background you have there. Yeah, apparently nothing's next to pull that off unless I hang a green screen behind me.
Yeah, I think it's too dark in your room. Might work now. Give it a whirl.
You guys hear me?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I'm going to retreat back to the darkness.
Yeah, we're playing. We have an ongoing game of Mage. It's a role-playing game with John and Bridget and a few friends. And John finally decided, like, hey, let's just play it online. So he and Bridget decided to take the whole family, their 2 kids, and now they have 2 dogs as well, all the way up here just to drop off our character sheets and stuff.
Nice.
Just to fucking get out of the house. Yeah, so I just went out to say hi to them and meet their new dogs.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Meet the new dogs. Meet the new dogs.
Yeah, we had a similar venture earlier today.
Oh yeah. Did you also cross state lines to do it?
No, but it doesn't take much for you to cross state lines.
There we go.
True. Yeah, I mean we're not far. Well, you're not too far either. I mean, for you to go to Rhode Island isn't bad.
That's true.
Oop, yeah. I am recording.
Oh, just give me a second. I'm just ordering some weed. Where the fuck did it go?
Nice.
Oh, I'm legit pissed off right now. All right.
We're gonna get takeout tonight, so I'm really excited about that. Like fucking
that's a great idea.
Unreasonably excited.
Oh yeah, that's a nice treat. That's a real nice treat.
Yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. I've been doing so much fucking nice. I've been doing so much cooking.
I told you guys I went to Wendy's yesterday and I'm in the drive-thru, and first of all the woman in front of me was already pissing me off to begin with because the line is like is what?
He was preventing you from getting those nugs sooner.
Those dank nugs.
That and the line was wrapped around the building because you can't go in, so everybody's in the drive-thru. So they were leaving, most people who had a fucking brain were leaving a gap where the exit of the drive-thru was so that people could get the fuck out. And then as the cars moved, you'd hop over the other side of the drive-thru path. No, not this woman. She sat right in the fucking middle of it so nobody could move. Then she is sitting there staring at her phone and not paying attention as like 3 cars worth move ahead of her and there's a giant gap and she's fucking up the whole line. Then she gets to the voice box and she's like, "Hi, yeah, what's a Baconator?"
Why now? Why are you asking this right now?
And I had my window open and I almost went, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Good stuff. That's very good.
And it's funny because she kept going, "Yeah, I think that's what she wants." And I wanted to think in my mind she was referring to herself as she.
She could have a dissociative disorder, and she could be ordering for a personality.
Could be.
I was just thinking when all this is over, we should, the next time we have to go to Patrick's place, we should come up with some sort of challenge at that cul-de-sac of death, that rotary of death that has like Wendy's, McDonald's, and Taco Bell all on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
like breakfast at one place, lunch at another, and dinner at the other, and then whoever wins.
From what I understand, the Wendy's breakfast is pretty good.
I haven't had it yet. I heard. I mean, they obviously had very poor timing in rolling it out.
Yeah,
but I don't know if my local Wendy's does it yet.
I tried one of the sandwiches the other day, the Baconator sausage one. It was okay.
What's a baconator?
What's
I went in already fully informed as to what a baconator was, and I was kind of disappointed. I didn't know it was a sausage patty. I thought it was a fucking hamburger with the egg on it, because that sounds actually pretty dope.
Now, do they have a breakfast potato offering?
Yes, they do home fries, but not in the way that like everywhere else does it.
They just take French fries and dice them up.
They're like thicker potatoes. Yeah, they look more like cut up home fries, I guess. They're not like breaded or anything like that.
I'm gonna just hit record here.
I am too. I'm already in progress.
Oh, okay. Everyone else,
Gotta sync that shit up.
Yeah, I'm good. What you drinking there, Sasser? Is that a beer?
I am drinking the There's No Wrong he can't say it. The There's No Wrong Way peanut butter marshmallow stout from Widowmaker.
Ah,
well, it's like they say, it's 3:10 p.m. somewhere.
Yes.
I haven't had anything from Widowmaker yet, but I hear it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's right nearby.
All right, so let's get started here, and then we can talk about beer. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Old Men Yell at Cloud. I am Christopher, and I am joined, as always, by Jim.
Ow, my milk.
And Patrick. We're still on about milk, huh?
I'm here. Hi, how's it going? Still here.
Not too bad, not too bad. This is our second record of the day, so we're a little loopier. And today is kind of a battle of Britpop day for us because, as you've heard on a previous installment, we covered Blur's 1997 rather, self-titled album. And today we're going to be covering Oasis's 1995 album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. It's the second studio album by English rock band Oasis, and for that reason, I wanted to bring in a special guest for that, someone who was recently on another show on the network, Jukebox Zeros, to discuss the next album by Oasis, Be Here Now. Probably the biggest fan I know of the band, Mr. Jon Sasor.
Hey.
So, John, what's your history with Oasis?
I hadn't like when they were contemporary. Like when this record broke, at the time I wasn't really super into a lot of contemporary music, so I actually didn't really get into Oasis until I was in college. And I met a buddy of mine who makes my Oasis fandom look like nothing. And at that point, it just kind of I delved deep into the discography and decided it was for me.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I like the image of someone whipping out their Oasis fandom and being like, all right, let's do this. Let's do this, brother. See who's bigger.
Yeah, Oasis is weird in the States because I'm what I would call a casual Oasis fan, and I find that sort of thing doesn't really exist all too much. Usually people are either super fans or they don't like Oasis. So it's, I would say
I feel like I'm pretty middle of the road.
Oh, really? I wouldn't have pegged you for that.
Why?
I'm probably more in the latter camp, but I'll save my thoughts because people change.
All right. So, like I said, it's the second studio album by English rock band Oasis, released on October 2nd of 1995 by Creation Records. It was produced by Owen Morris and the group's guitarist and main songwriter Noel Gallagher. Structure and arrangement style of the album were a significant departure from the group's previous album, Definitely Maybe. Gallagher's compositions were focused more on balladry and placed more emphasis on quote-unquote huge choruses, with the string arrangements and more varied instrumentation contrasting with the rawness of the group's debut album. Morning Glory was the first album with drummer Alan White, who replaced Tony McCarroll. The record propelled Oasis from being a crossover indie act to a worldwide rock phenomenon, and is seen by critics as a significant record in the timeline of British indie music. Morning Glory sold a record-breaking 347,000 copies its first week, spent 10 weeks at number 1 on the UK album charts, and reached number 4 on the US Billboard 200, making it the band's most commercially successful release. The album yielded 4 major hit singles in the band's native Britain. Some might say Don't Look Back in Anger reached number 1, and Roll With It and Wonderwall peaked at number 2. The latter spending a lengthy 30 consecutive weeks on the chart during its initial run. Champagne Supernova and Wonderwall reached number 1 on the US Modern Rock Tracks chart, and Wonderwall also topped the Australian and New Zealand singles chart. At the 1996 Brit Awards, the album won Best British Album. Over several months in 1995 and 1996, the band performed an extensive world tour in support of the album. Among the most notable of these concerts were back-to-back nights at Earl's Court in London in November 1995, which were the biggest ever indoor concerts in Europe at the time. They also performed 2 homecoming gigs at Main Road in Manchester in April 1996. In August of that year, the band played to 80,000 people over 2 nights at Bala County Park in Scotland. And we just have a bunch of fucking live things here. We don't need to read that. Although a commercial success, the record initially received lukewarm reviews from mainstream critics. Many reviewers deemed it inferior to Definitely Maybe, with the songwriting and production particular points of criticism. However, critical opinion towards the album completely reversed in the ensuing years, and it is now generally considered a seminal record of both the Britpop era in the 1990s in general, as well as appearing on several lists of the greatest albums in rock music. At the 2010 Brit Awards, Morning Glory was named the greatest British album since 1980. It has sold over 22 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time. As of October 2018, it is the UK's 5th best-selling album and 3rd best-selling studio album of all time, having sold over 4.94 million
Patrick,
copies.
what the fuck are you doing? I just look over it. I look over it. He's like,
I was waiting for someone to say something.
The way that Jim just imitated Patrick reminds me of a guy that I used to see on the 57 bus all the time. I don't know how to describe the guy. He didn't look like he had anything wrong with him, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm making fun of someone who couldn't control something about them or whatever. But he always kind of his top half seemed to move behind his bottom half. So as he walked somewhere, his top half would bend backward and have to catch up to his body.
There's always the most interestingly shaped
a rubber
people
man.
on public transportation, isn't there?
Yeah, the 57 bus was great too because
Oh yeah,
basically have
classic.
you have the students who get off at BU, then you have the hipsters and kids in bands that get off in Alston, and then you have the weirdos who get off after that.
Oh yeah, the ones the actual Brighton lifers.
Brighton and Watertown. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on the. I've seen a few characters in my day on the Red Line. I think my favorite was Emily and I were riding the Red Line, and everybody had shifted to one end of the car because there was a gentleman practicing kung fu at the other end of the train. Not very well, mind you, but he was practicing.
When I worked for a company a while back, we had an intern that we all nicknamed Chooch. And this kid was great because he was one of the people he was very, very intelligent. But he's one of those people that was intelligent enough at the expense of being able to function in a society whatsoever. So he used to wait for his train at whatever the fuck the station was. He used to wait down on the platform practicing his Krav Maga moves. Good. Actually, Redline, did you ever see the Candyman, Jim? He was usually at Park Street, but you could find him other places too.
Was he a man who sold candy?
No, he was a man that sat on a speaker and he was playing it beyond the point of distortion. And he was playing the song Candyman, and he was singing along to it.
Ooh, I don't
know that guy. I knew the battery guy. I knew the pimp guy who wore the purple gloves and just laughed to himself on the train. He had a pimp hat.
DJ Night Train.
There was the Jesus Christ guy who would just sneak up behind you and be like, "Jesus Christ has risen!" And start yelling Bible stuff.
Yeah, the guy that sounds like DMX and wears the sandwich board.
The sandwich board, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Have any of you ever seen a DJ Night Train?
I don't
I
think
know
so.
of DJ Night Train. I don't know if I ever saw him.
Oh, he's fantastic. Here I got a little video of him here. Avalon 78. He basically he has headphones and a lot of things on his person. So he's got a really full backpack and just all sorts of stuff hanging off of it. And he dances to whatever he's listening to on the headphones. And he's the most harmless, peaceful person you will find on the MBTA, but he is endlessly entertaining. Yeah, so now that we've gotten all that out of the way, and we've talked about the oddities that you see on the MBTA. Let's go around the horn and do this thing. So I'll be going in the order I see here. Jim, what was your favorite song?
I'm gonna go with "Don't Look Back in Anger." This is the sing along song, and it always gets stuck in my head, and it's just a ripping tune.
Yeah. Yeah. Rippin'. R-I-P-N. So I don't know if I was next in the order, but Don't Look Back in Anger was also my favorite.
Okay, well, I guess that's shuffling the order. Let me see if I can rearrange them up here. Nope. Okay, this is going to be really difficult.
All right.
Do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, a few things that kind of stick out for me with this track. First of all, it's Noel singing rather than Liam, and I think I vastly prefer Noel's singing voice. So I think that's part of the appeal for me. And I think they either they tune or they mastered it like a quarter step up, which kind of gives it this nice bright sort of feeling to it. And just like Jim said, it's super sing-alongy in a great way. It's a very well crafted song that, like, you know, the chords aren't terribly complicated, but they're definitely throwing in some cool leading chords here and there that make it a, you know, super, you know, just like a very, very rich, robust pop song.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cool.
John, what's your favorite song?
I'm gonna go with something different. I'm gonna go with Some Might Say, just because it's a little. It's one of those songs that it just grabs me. I'm not sure exactly why it is, but it always stands out to me as far as the rest of the record goes.
Yeah, that was actually the lead single for this album.
Interesting. Some great guitar leads on that song. I think that's part of it. Is it just has like super good hooks on top.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy how the industry worked back then, because some might say it was dropped when the album was still very much in production. So they were recording throughout the spring of that year, and they dropped Some Might Say in April. And then they didn't have a lead single for the album until towards the end of the year with Roll With It. And that was the quote-unquote battle of Britpop, when both Oasis and Blur released a single on the same day.
Wow. I think Champagne's Supernova was the first single of theirs that I heard, even before Wonderwall. So I think that was probably the summer of '95.
Over here, it was, I think, it was Wonderwall, Champagne Supernova, and then Don't Look Back in Anger.
If it was like summer or fall of '95, that would 100% make sense, because that's when we had MTV switched on in our household, and I was like 11 years old and watching a lot of it then.
Yeah. You got anything else to say about Some Might Say?
It rips.
Ripping
It really rips the llama's ass.
Oh, you got
Oh goodness.
for me, I'm gonna go with Cast No Shadow. It's a great arrangement, and I think it's a great example of a lot of Liam Gallagher's songwriting. I think gets bogged down just in volume and distortion. So a lot of the subtleties that he has going on, especially with how he plays guitar in particular, I think really get lost. Whereas the quieter songs on this record, like Cast No Shadow, She's Electric, Wonderwall, all have a lot more breathing room, and you can really hear what's going on for the most part. But yeah, I like it. It's subtle. It's a really cool string part. I like that the drummer's playing hot rods on it, which we were saying on the chat earlier doesn't happen all that often. And it's also a fun little song about Richard Ashcroft from The Verve.
Yeah, that's a cool song. It's very much in the vein of Wonderwall, but it's not ripping it off in any way. More just kind of like capturing the vibe, but like he does it with different chords. And I think in general, the harder, heavier tracks are like they kind of get affected by mastering a bit, so like you lose some of the teeth on it, but then on these quieter songs you really get a good sense of dynamics and like more breathing room, and it is definitely one of the more appreciated tracks for me too.
Yeah, and actually, that's one thing that should be said about this album is it was one of the earlier examples of an album that was partaking in the loudness wars.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely.
that definitely maybe basically kicked off the loudness wars
Yeah.
as far as that goes. So there's not a lot of breathing room on a lot of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Super Unknown probably was around the same time as definitely maybe. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. So there were people who ended up like returning this album and whatnot as a result of it because they thought it was like their CD was broken or some dumb shit.
It's all crispy.
The
It's
milk
like-
is too hot.
It's all crispy, but with numbers.
On our John, just to catch you up on the last episode we recorded today, Deegan surmised that the self-titled Blur album was actually created via milk, and that if you what did you say? If you ground it up, you could drink it, or
Something like that. I thought it was more like compressed yeast, like it was. You could kind of like smear it like a paste.
God.
Jim,
I'm really into yeast, guys, because of pretzels.
Yeah, it's pretzels. for me.
Yeah, good work, Pretzi. Jim, what was your least favorite song?
I'm gonna go with "She's Electric." This one was. I mean, there really wasn't a song I didn't like on this. I mean, this album's obviously kind of a classic, and there's so many good singles on it. But I just felt like "She's Electric" is. This is gonna sound weird. I felt like it was a little too upbeat and fun, and just wasn't having it.
That's actually the song that kind of got me into this album as a whole. Like I'd listened to it a few times, and most of it didn't really click with me. And then it was Jason Dunn of all people was hanging out at my place in Alston, in my first apartment, and he made me listen to it. He's like, "Oh man, you got to listen to Oasis more. You got to listen to Oasis more." And he showed me that song for some reason as an example of why. And but weirdly, it worked.
Good tune.
Yeah, I don't know. Patrick, what was your least favorite?
I was having trouble thinking of this because, like Jim, I was kind of in the same boat. I didn't really think there was a bad song on this record, but I'm probably going to go with "Roll With It." Just something about the first couple of tracks on this record don't really grab me. But I this time around, I liked the first track a little. I appreciated it a little more, and then, yeah, for some reason, this song doesn't really do much for me. I don't really even remember how it goes.
Yeah,
but,
I
like,
actually kind of
the
liked
other
how
songs
they-
kind of did something for me in
Yeah.
some way. Just,
I liked how the
I just-
album kicked off. "Roll With It" would have been my second least favorite, I think.
I just remember one of the when I first got into Oasis, and I was just kind of looking up random things about that. I just distinctly remember seeing some random British tabloid picture, and it was just a photo of Liam walking out of a bakery with the caption, "Liam's got to roll with it."
wow. Then I retract my statement. Sorry.
That's one thing England definitely had over the U.S. in the 90s was just its proliferation of music weeklies that were so starved for content that they came up with titles like that. Like we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for like the NME and all those. Yeah, "Roll With It" was the Battle of Britpop song, like I said, and they lost out on that. Blur's Country House apparently sold 274,000 copies, which is fucking nuts for a single. The week it came out versus Oasis's "Roll With It," which sold 216,000.
Is
Which
sort of like Britpop bracket happening that I don't know about?
no, so that basically Oasis and Blur had a bit of a rivalry going on.
Yeah, I read that. Like,
But it just happened that there was one day that both of them were dropping a new single. So the press, like I said, there were tons of different music weeklies starved for content. So they basically drummed it into this whole big thing, and they labeled it the Battle of Britpop. So it was actually a huge thing where both, like, between the two of them, they sold like 500,000 singles.
I just like the thought that is now so long ago where Patrick read that as opposed to any other way of consuming it.
Yeah. But no. So that was like a real thing. But the thing that's insane to me is that "Country House" is a shitty Blur song. I can't believe that won.
I like Country House. In fact, I like "Roll With It," but I think I might like Country House better than "Roll With It."
yeah, I liked that one. I think.
I liked Country House.
All right. Well, fuck
Wait,
y'all.
wait, no, wait. I'm thinking of
We are
something
but
else.
neophytes, though. What do we know?
I
The very big house in the country.
I don't know that song. I lied.
Yeah, you don't know it because it's not that good.
It's not
Oh, okay.
song 2.
Yeah, it's no song. Two. It's not
Right.
no woo. No, what was your least favorite song?
I'm surprised Yoo-Hoo didn't jump on that.
Oh, that would have been good.
Could have made a commercial.
Yeah, that's marketing. synergy.
Yoo-Hoo! Now you're drinking watered chocolate milk. Woohoo!
Now you have that.
It took me a second to put together what the fuck you were trying to
Mommy
say.
is hurting, but my thirst is still quenching.
You could have then tied that in with the coffee and TV thing with the milk carton, making it a Yoo-Hoo carton.
It was the greatest music video to ever happen.
Yeah. But so, least favorite for me, it's probably going to be "Hey Now." That's it. It's fine. It's just kind of just an album cutter. It goes on a little too long, I think. Doesn't have anything particularly that stands out to it. It's fine. It's just there.
Yeah. Myself, I'm gonna go with "Hello." For starters, anytime that song is like played in public, Gary Glitter collects royalties for it. Which,
Very true. Very true.
we should not be playing that song at any point. Yeah, I might actually just open this episode with "Roll with It" instead. But yeah, no, it's the reason that he's given a songwriting credit on it is because it's the most blatant of the rips on this album. So it was kind of a preemptive action to just go ahead and give him credit for it. But yeah, it's the most derivative, I think, on the lot, and it's not a great great opener for an album that I think is a lot stronger than it.
Yeah.
Who's Gary Glitter?
As someone who's like not really into Oasis that much, I remember this song kind of being part of the problem with me like not getting into the record for a long time, just because of that first track, and I think it gets like so much better by track 3.
Yeah, agreed.
Who's Gary Glitter?
Hey.
Oh. Ah,
Yeah, he's also a sex criminal.
I see.
Yes. Jim, what was your MVP moment of the album, not Gary Glitter's career?
Ooh.
I wouldn't know where to start. I guess it would be. I'm gonna go with the solo section in Champagne Supernova. I think that's just a fucking stellar way to really wrap this album up, and
Song rules.
yeah, it's a great tune, and that section particularly is it's a nice.
I always hated that song as a kid. Like when it was playing on MTV, I was always like, "Why aren't they playing Bush instead of this?" But as an adult, I fucking love this song. It's really killer.
Yeah, the hooks are just so well done and unique to them somehow.
And
just like very defiantly Oasis in like all the best ways.
Yeah, and the harmonium and Ebo in the background, as we were talking about, that droning on through the entire song is such a nice touch.
Yeah.
Patrick, what was your MVP moment?
I had a bunch.
As well, you should.
I had a bunch because this was a very, very well-produced record. And I think listening to it, I really kind of appreciate their, Noel's craftsmanship in what he's doing on the guitar and shit. So I'm gonna make it easy for you and just go with the tambourine in Wonderwall. Because as an aux percussion guy, as a guy who's like, I'm like, I can't wait for that stage in recording for some reason. It's just such a well placed, aggressive 16th on the tambourine that, I mean, it lifts the song in a way that you wouldn't otherwise notice. So, and yeah, I had a few others, just the guitar leads in general on Morning Glory and some might say, were all like super catchy and shit. And yeah, I love that Ebo melodica combo on Champagne Supernova is just super nice. And the little near me, all right, yeah, that's badass. I love that line.
I feel
Huh.
like Patrick should be like an engraver because I feel like aux percussion is similar to the engraving portion of any product where you've got this product and it's beautiful, and then Patrick's going to take it to the next level by engraving a nice message on it, and he does that through aux percussion.
We'll
Put
put some.
Vibra slap.
How's about you, John?
I'm gonna go with the guitar solo in Morning Glory, just because it rips. It's such. I mean, because that song rocks in general, and then it just that guitar solo just kind of hits that high spot right there, and it's just really in your face and catchy and fun.
It rips.
Yeah, no, it's a killer guitar solo. Yeah, I had a handful that I was going to pick from. For myself, I think I'm just going to go with the just the melodies and interplay of the chorus of She's Electric. Everything's just working really well together. The guitar stuff is a little bit more interesting than it has to be. Noel's playing a little bit more than he needs to on it, and it's not actually offensive. It's not overplaying or anything. He's just doing some cool little, as Paul from VL calls them, hooky ditties. There's a lot of that going on, and just the vocal melody is just fucking killer there. It's probably at the top of Liam's range, and he actually handles it pretty well.
Yeah, She's Electric is a fun song. I mean, that's one of the tunes where when I was first getting into actually singing while trying to play the guitar, that was in the lineup.
Yeah, it's probably pretty good for that. I have no idea how to play it. I think the only Oasis song I actually know how to play, I could do Wonderwall if you give me a capo, but I think Cast No Shadow is the only one I actually learned ever, which is a weird one to learn. Jim, it's a comparable album to this.
I'm gonna have you come back to me because I totally forgot to think of one.
You dingleberry. Patrick.
I'm going to go with War on Drugs, Lost in the Dream from 2014, the band War on Drugs, for a few reasons. They're an American band. They're an American band who like they borrow like very heavily from their sort of like 70s ancestors in a way that I think Oasis obviously does borrow a lot from the 60s and the bands from their region of the world. And there was an article that kind of helped me tie this together. Where is it? Edit this out. Hold on. Fuck, where was it?
Where is it? It's got to be somewhere.
Anyway, all right. Well, whatever. Just fuck it. Anyway, the article kind of was saying like positively about this record that like it had, it's not derivative in the way it borrows from its ancestors. It actually kind of gives it this kind of like nice, homey, familiar quality that helps you sort of take in their other artfulness a little more palatably. And I think War on Drugs kind of do that on their end as well. There's still some millennial malaise happening over it, but over these songs that sound like fucking Tom Petty circa 1987 or something. So yeah, that was my pick.
I was gonna make a joke about the war on drugs, the actual war on drugs, but I decided not to. So just put it in your head. Imagine one. John, how about you?
Comparable records for this, I'm gonna go with Foo Fighters' Color and Shape. as in not less directly musically, but more in terms of like cultural impact, where you've had a a solid first record, but then a second record that just blows the lid off the roof, and just becomes kind of like just a cultural stick point where like everybody knows those songs.
Yeah. Also, big step up in production value as well.
Yeah.
That first Foo Fighters record is pretty raw.
Yeah, and the first Foo Fighters album has a few great songs, but it also has a lot of filler on it. And I view Definitely Maybe by Oasis the same way. It's got a few great songs and then stuff I don't like as much. Whereas, both follow-ups were just fucking killer albums.
Yeah.
For myself, I'm going to go with one that's not exactly sonically like it, but I'm going to actually complete a trilogy here. I'm going with Dove's Some Cities, which I've used before. And the reason is because it's the album I was listening to constantly in early 2006 when I first worked at Tivoli Audio. I constantly had this, Some Cities, or the Dismemberment Plan's Emergency and I going on every day at work. And those three albums to me are completely linked, regardless of the fact that none of them really sound like each other.
Oh, that's an album that you've showed us that I listen to frequently. Emergency and I.
Oh, nice.
I was actually thinking of Emergency and I as a comparable record to that self-titled Blur album for some reason too.
Yeah, I can see that. Jim, if you had to re-rate Emergency and I, where would you put it?
Honestly, now it's probably like a 9 for me.
Damn. Yeah, I fucking love that album.
I put that on up a lot.
The more you listen to it, the more you kind of get into its esotericness.
Yeah, I kind of got into that. It's one of those albums where like I would get really into one song on it, and then a little while later I would get really into another one until eventually like I've been into all of them.
Yeah.
All right. Let's give this a rating here.
I haven't given you my comparable album yet.
Oh yeah, because you asked me to pass you. And Jim, I am juggling so many things right now because I have to go out of order with what I see in Zoom right now, and you're just throwing things at me.
I can just imagine you like with one of those little toys when you're a kid where you have to take the round and the square and stick them in the peg holes, and you're just like panicking trying to figure out where you're going to put what, and there's a bead of sweat dripping down your face.
It's like a 4-year-old me's version of like the red wire or the blue wire.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna
get this white or we're all gonna die.
Teacher, there's a bomb in the play school. Everyone get down.
I'll protect us.
Oh man, imagine if a kid did that.
It's got to have happened.
Just a kid that's just been hanging out with his dad too much, who just fucking can't stop watching Die Hard movies or something. It's just like,
weapon. I told you guys the elementary school poop story, right?
Maybe.
When
elementary school poop story.
There's only one.
I was in kindergarten, and I was using the facilities at the school, and a little piece of poop rolled under the stall into mine.
Yeah, you did.
I just want to make sure that story made it out there because
the teacher like brought you aside and was like, "Did anything strange happen when you went to the bathroom?"
Yes.
That story, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't sound too far off of WeWork bathrooms.
Yeah, no. The only difference is that the elementary school bathroom didn't smell like a zoo, but the WeWork bathroom.
I'm wondering if the end of that story is just like a kid being carried away in handcuffs.
I mean,
strange, Christopher.
So, just in case anyone didn't hear the episode where that happened, long story short, someone rolls a poop under my toilet stall. As a kid, as a kindergartner, I think like, okay, this is weird. So I use my shoe to like bat it back over, and then it rolls back over again. I'm like, okay, I'm getting out of here. So I wash my hands.
Should have done that, tampering with evidence.
Yeah, no, my DNA is all over that shit.
Literally.
My teacher asked me a few hours later if anything had happened in the bathroom. I didn't remember because I was a small child and like I had forgotten about it by that point. So she's like, "Did anyone play with anything in there, like poop?" And I was like, "Oh yeah. Some rolled into my stall." And she's like, "Okay, thanks. You can go sit down." So what I have to imagine happened is that they caught the person doing it. And
They
that
caught the little bastard.
they were probably like I don't know what the end result of all of this was, but they had to have caught that kid and had to have realized like, okay, other kids might have been affected by this. Let's go back and find out who has been in the boys' bathroom for the last like 2 hours.
That's some serious damage control to do here. Jesus
I
Christ.
just wonder what the kid actually did.
I think it's pretty clear that he crabs took the. Were they perfect spheres?
This one rolled, so yeah, it was pretty
That's
spherical.
impressive. So he definitely took it out of the toilet, made a snowball with his hands.
No.
He might have made a few, and I wonder how long he camped out there, and I wonder who the person was that
How premeditated was this?
he woke up that, he woke up
This
that
guy-
morning and went, "All right, today's the day."
So here's I can actually with some reasoning figure out who it was because my kindergarten was divided up into AM and PM. So it probably wasn't even anyone in my class. The teacher probably wouldn't let two people go to the bathroom at the same time.
Definitely
So it had to
someone
be-
from one of the PM classes.
It had to be someone from either first grade or second grade because they were the only ones on the same floor that would have used that bathroom. And I have a few sneaking suspicions of who could have been the poop player.
The
I wonder-
poopatrator.
I wonder if I wonder who finally was like, all right, there's somebody to do this. Imagine if like it was a teacher. Imagine if a teacher went in and sat down and like the fucking bowl of crap rolled in and he was just like, all right, that's enough of this.
Yeah. Buddy, you're dancing with fire for too
I
long.
finally-
You're
I
bound
finally
to.
caught you, you little bastard. I've been trying to hunt you down for the last 2.5 years.
Oh, catch you, poop baron.
I assume that someone who was smarter than I was, or at least not 5 years old at the time, probably realized that hey, this is fucked up, and told their teacher. But hey, just childhood memories. Jim, what was your MVP? Your comparable album?
I'm gonna go with the Bends by
Ah.
Radiohead. Cause they bloody British.
In it?
Same year, too.
Yeah, no, there's some similarities there. I think this is before Radiohead fucking went head first into making beeps and boops, and
Deep boop land.
there's a little bit of beeps and boops in What's the Story, Morning Glory. So there's a little bit of a crossing there. I feel like.
They turned into robots. That's my theory.
York bought 5,000.
Tom York was just like, I'm sick of being human. Let's all become robots.
The
now."
saddest robot of all.
Sad robots.
That
Well, that's
imitation
what
of
I mean. That's what
Oh, that
happened in.
Tom York. That was like some sort of like really downtrodden English butler.
like Michael Caine.
Oh,
Yeah.
Michael Caine, yeah. I suppose that I'm all done with this now, and I'm not gonna come about it.
Time to shed my fleshy coil and join the realm of the
Well,
robots.
I mean, in OK Computer, he says, I may be paranoid, but I am not an android. I mean, maybe he really was an android.
Overcompensating.
Yeah.
that was a
exactly.
transitional phase right there. He
Yeah.
his leg, I think, was robotic at that point.
Yeah, he was kind of like a Skywalker at that point.
Yeah.
He was part machine, but not all the way yet.
I was gonna go with watching too much Star Trek. It's like maybe this Borg are onto something.
That would be great if Tom York informed his decisions based on Star Trek. Jim, what would you rate this album?
I'm gonna give it a hard 7. It's not something that I am gonna fucking reach for when I'm throwing albums on, but it's definitely a good album. It's definitely like a classic. Like as far as when we're all dead and buried and they look back into the history books, it'll definitely be one of the ones that probably stands the test of time. But definitely not like I said at the beginning, I'm kind of like you said, middle of the road when it comes to Oasis. I could kind of take it or leave it, but I do enjoy their songs when they come on, and it's not offensive to me in any way.
Patrick.
I'm gonna give it a hard 7. I wasn't really big into the first couple of tracks, but then as soon as track 3 hit, I was sold all the way through. I was Yeah, I was just very pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed it this time around because I've listened to it once before, and obviously for Jukebox Zeros, I listened to Be Here Now, and yeah, there's just compared with that record, there's just so much more flavor and dynamics and just like great songwriting. Like the
That was
songs have different tempos and keys and like yeah, just like great production all around too.
A little less drug addled than Be Here Now.
Yeah, it was a little more focused. I'm still not big on Liam's vocal delivery or his lyrics. This one wasn't quite as like samey as Be Here Now was, which was kind of nice. And yeah, I could definitely see myself going back and giving this more listens because like otherwise I'm not really big into Oasis. But yeah, this is definitely them at their strongest.
It was really fun listening to that Be Here Now episode because you can hear the defensiveness in John's voice throughout the entire episode. And to be honest, like the clip,
If the song was just 2 minutes shorter, this would be an awesome album.
That takes like half the runtime.
It's funny because like when I was listening, I've never listened to that album but from the clips that I heard that were played on the JVZ episode, I was like, I don't think this is that bad. But you know, I haven't sat listening.
Not bad. It just gets monotonous because the songs are all way too long.
Well, they all end in giant washes of feedback that all go on for like a solid minute at the start and end of every track.
John, what's your rating for this?
I'm gonna go with an 8. It's definitely a classic record. It's not my personal favorite Oasis record. I tend to like a little bit of their stuff that they did after Be Here Now. But this is, I mean, it's a classic. Everybody knows this record. One of the things I actually wanted to mention is one of the best moments I've had seeing live music ever was when it was 2008, I think. It was their last tour before U.S. tour before they broke up, and they were doing Noel was doing Don't Look Back in Anger, and so I was down on the floor with my buddy who introduced me to Oasis, and we're watching, and just like kind of halfway through the song, he just kind of nudges me, and then just points to the crowd, and like the entirety of like Madison Square Garden was like one in like singing that chorus, and like it just blew my mind that just a huge venue, like everybody was so into it, and that like that there was just so much like love going on.
I had that moment when it was one of the times I saw Radiohead at Xfinity Center, and everybody was singing Karma Police. I was like, holy shit.
I have a very nice memory of when I went to Ireland a couple of years ago with my family of my brother and I
Peeing on the side of the road.
Super late. Eventually, but we stayed up pretty late one night, just kind of like hopping around different bars, and we ended up in one where there was like a cover band playing, and that they were playing "Don't Look Back in Anger" when we arrived, and it was a big sing along moment. We were fucking drunk as shit. It was great.
Yeah, actually, Jim, you guys left the Radiohead show that we were at together before the last song, right?
I don't think so. I don't think I would have left.
Because they closed with Karma Police, and that was insane. Because we were in the absolute nosebleeds. Like they put up folding chairs in the absolute uppermost level of the TD Garden, and like we were sitting on those folded chairs.
Oh, that
show,
yeah. The one where we were way the fuck up there. No, I don't think I left early for that.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they closed with Karma Police, and then
That's right.
afterward,
Yep.
Tom led the audience in just like an a cappella sing along a few times.
Yep, I do remember, but that for some reason that I mean that was awesome, but for some reason the I don't know if it's because it was outside at the Xfinity Center, but the whole fucking place was just engulfed with Karma Police. The crowd singing Karma Police. And
Karma Police.
Yes,
also,
it's true. Tom York goes beep boop.
On the beat floor, doing No Surprises, the Bring Down the Government line always gets a big crowd response, which is fun. All right. For me, I'm going to give this an 8 as well. It's my favorite Oasis album. I like a lot of Oasis. I don't like some Oasis, but I think that this is their strongest album for me. This, and I think Standing on the Shoulder of Giants is your favorite, right, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that that's probably my second favorite. And then they have a few spotted tracks here and there on other albums, but those two albums I think are the ones that I could happily listen to all the way through.
I still think Don't Believe the Truth doesn't get enough credit. Like, I mean,
the later stuff is fine. I just don't like them doing Psych, which is kind of where it ends up going.
I think there's a lot of great records that came out in 95.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a great year.
94, 95, 96, 97, like there were a few solid years of music that were just fucking awesome. And that make up for years like 2012 where nothing good came out.
Exactly.
Was Super Unknown 95? What year was Super Unknown?
94.
94.
Yeah. Downward
90
Spiral, fucking Super Unknown, all sorts of shit. Yeah, and that was like the time when I was starting to become cognizant of this type of music, of like rock radio, and like starting to get opinions on like having music or whatever. It's like kind of what it switched on for me.
Have you guys seen Supersonic? John, I know you did because you were at this meeting that I was at Kendall Theater. It's a documentary about Oasis that covers their beginning right up until they started the whole Be Here Now phase. And it's fantastic. It's Noel Gallagher, as you know, is a very fucking fun individual. If you haven't seen his turn on Hot Ones, I strongly recommend watching it, because watching Noel Gallagher eat spicy things and complain about it is just a thing of beauty. But yeah, no, this documentary is great. And it's like the whole thing is basically like a setup for a punchline. And at the very end of the album, someone was just like, "Yeah, everything was going great. How could it possibly go bad?" And then, of course, the next thing they did was Be Here Now, which
I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they were so nice.
oh god, that just totally made me think. So not the most recent time, but 2 times ago when Noel played here in Boston at the Opera House, some random guy like in the middle of the show ran up and like tried to give him his demo tape. And it was like the most awkward thing. And Noel's just like, "What the hell am I supposed to do with this?" And it was it was enough of a thing where the last time when he came through again, he was just like, "Anybody else have any demo tapes I'm supposed to listen to?"
I love it. That's
Yeah, the indignance is great.
Noel's gonna help me make it in this crazy world. I like the idea that, like, I mean, not that Noel Gallagher doesn't have clout or anything like that, but it's not 1995 anymore. It's not like I think Noel could possibly make or break a new band.
He's also like not the most approachable musician either. Like of all the people to go with, like you thought that you had a chance with him.
Yeah.
You know, this guy's he's been sitting around all week waiting, just like, all right, Noel's coming. Noel's coming on Friday. All right, how am I doing this? Am I going to run up the left? Am I going to run up the right?
baby.
Should I go fast? No, not too fast. Got to come up. Got to get. I need a strong stride, but not too fast. And then when I hand it to him, don't throw it at him. You know, it's just like
I'm just picturing the fucking UPS guy from Mad TV, that like weird fucking dance thing that he was doing.
You're practicing like the handing motion.
Yes.
Like, do I do it fast and hard? Do I do it slow and hard? Do I whip it around in a flashy manner? Do I want to impress him?
He has a cardboard cutout like
So I go,
life size of
"Hey,
Noel
Noel,
Gallagher in his
catch."
room to practice.
It's got a baseball glove like straight.
Go long, buddy.
He wants to be like Mean Gene in that old Coke commercial where like the kid hands him a Coke and then Mean Gene, the kid starts walking. Catch. He throws him a shirt. "Hey, Noel, catch."
Everybody throws it, like the corner of the jewel case like stabs Noel in the eye, and it's just like, ah.
That'll make an impression.
That's a 7.5. I
physical
don't know if I said that, but I just want to make sure that I get the rating out there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this album is fun. I like this album. Yeah, so our Britpop days coming to an end. How you guys feel about that?
Stay tuned for
Brit
prog rock
rock
days.
Yeah. What'd you say, prog rock days?
Yes.
What do you guys have going on for the rest of the weekend?
I think I'm doing yard work tomorrow over at over at my stepmom's.
I've got like 2 fucking
and-
inches of snow on the ground right now. I mean, I know this thing is airing in June, but as of recording this, there's 2 inches of snow on the ground, and there shouldn't be. I'm
And it's
gonna work
April.
on this. Yeah, I'm gonna work on the
It's like
basement.
late April. Yeah, do that. Probably work on my "We're in this together" track a little bit more. That'll probably be out at this point.
Hopefully, God willing. Yeah, my plan is just to play Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I can't wait for my
yeah.
game to show up.
Yeah, when do you have an estimated window for that?
The pre-order site said that they should ship by April 30th. So I don't know if it's gonna ship before April 30th, but I'm hoping it does. But at least it'll ship by April 30th, and maybe I'll have a Cinco de Mayo Animal Crossing party.
Yeah,
I just like the thought of like Jim playing like Animal Crossing just because it's such a gentle game. Like even like my wife was just like she's just like, this game almost seems a little too gentle. I don't get to kill anybody, and I'm just imagining Jim like just like shaking trees, being like, oh mother.
Oh no, he's getting the poo pee pee cut of the game.
well, actually, funny you mentioned you can take a shit in the game.
Really?
Yeah, so if you eat a fruit in it, you know how that gives you extra strength, so you can like dig up a tree or something.
Yeah.
If you don't want to have that extra strength anymore, if you go in a toilet, you'll see your fruit meter go down, and then you hop off and say like all done or something like that.
I really appreciate that because that's normalizing defecation. I think that's important.
Now, after you do that, can you take the turd out of the bowl and roll it into another stall? That's the question.
Only if it takes place at Waybright Elementary School.
I
You
don't
just
think we should
roll
be
it to somebody
normalizing that
else's
behavior.
island.
So what do you think would be the best possible name for that poopatrator, as Patrick called them? I like the poop roller. Like if you're the media,
Like
you have to write.
What's his like Batman like supervillain name?
Yeah, or like if you're the media and you need to sensationalize this person and give him like a serial killer-esque nickname.
I'm gonna go with
Shit
Poopist.
sneaker.
The Poopist.
I'm going to go with something a little more artistic, like Curly Sam.
No, the Turdist. I'm going with the Turdist.
Ooh, the Turdist is pretty good.
The poop baller.
I mean, that tells the story A to B right there. No mystery.
First, because to make it nice and round, and then a second time to surprise and delight his neighbor.
They called him the Da Vinci of scat.
Oh.
Oh dear. So do we call the episode that, or is that too much?
Oh, we've
Happy
done it
birthday,
again.
Christopher. The Da Vinci.
Yes, happy birthday. This is
technically my birthday bonus episode. So yeah, I guess it's a little birthday treat for me to get to tell that story again.
happy birthday / I'm sorry, Emily. Again, we're talking about the poo poo.
I think she stopped listening a long time ago.
She just tuned out.
The last episode we talked about pee.
Yeah.
The poo
So now
fandom is dying.
So this time we talked about poop. You know, it's only natural that we start talking about different. You know,
I think we really should start putting these episodes on YouTube because I'm dying to know what kinds of comments we'd get on some of these episodes.
yeah. You know what? I'll make that a project. This week at some point, I'll start trying to upload them all.
Okay.
Get some good tags on there, so like people find us from the depths.
Yeah, that'll be an ongoing project because Jesus Christ, this is episode 64 that we're doing now.
Yeah.
But that'll be an ongoing project that I'll start doing. Maybe I'll work backwards. Start with the newest and then go old. Because the first few episodes kind of sucked. We might want to redo those albums at some point.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about our first episode. It was like 15 minutes long or some shit.
Yeah, and there was like no humor to it at all.
Yeah.
All we did was talked about the fucking Meatloaf made for TV movie.
Gotta have that sweet McDonald's stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really padded us out.
So there's a question for you, Patrick. How have you been doing? Do you have the shakes or anything, or have you been trying to get to McDonald's when you can?
I just wear. I mean, the drive-thru's still open. I just wear a face mask and go through.
Have you gone?
I have McDonald's I haven't gone to recently. I'm trying to cook more at home.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm trying to be a good boy. But I did go to Wendy's at some point last week and got a fucking barbecue bacon burger, and it was fantastic.
I'm just imagining the manager of the Air McDonald's. It's just like, our bottom line is completely gone. What are we supposed to do?
It's known in McDonald's franchises as the Barry bump whenever he moves
Yeah.
into. Oh, we can afford to hire about 3 more people. Now, though, no one in this town will ever have to wait at the drive-thru like they do in the Derry, New Hampshire one that Christopher goes to.
Wait, you guys didn't get your McDonald's stimulus check?
It would be so
Signed Ronald McDonald.
You just get like a fucking plethora of McBucks in the mail.
Oh my god! Oh, you can only use it at McDonald's though.
Did I ever tell you about the McBuck? I must have told you about the McBuck. When my brother and I and his friend defaced a $1 bill and made it all McDonald's themed. We tried to make Washington look like Ronald McDonald's. Like, we painted his hair red and like made his face white and everything. And, like, changed it back to like, in Ronald we trust. Changed like the symbol like that denotes where the note was printed. We turned that into a fry guy. And like, yeah, anywhere it said $1, we changed it to McBuck. So then we went to the McDonald's drive-thru to get a single $1 menu item and paid with it. Cashier just looks at it for a second. It's just like, what's this? And we're just like, oh, it's a McBuck. And she just shook her head and just put it in the register.
Man,
Excellent.
you have to take this. It's legal tender.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it is at that point if it's defaced. I mean, we did commit a lawful no there, but statutes of limitations has to be up on that, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
That'd be great if the cops were called immediately after. Son, you'd have to come with us.
Yeah,
I wonder.
That was probably when this album came out. Is when that happened.
I wonder if you could track that $1 bill based on the serial number.
You can. There is a website that does that, but I don't have the serial number for
Somehow
it.
I suspect that McBuck went straight into the shredder the next time they had to call Bill.
I think it only works if you like enter it on your end. Like, you know, you say like, "Hi, I found the $1. I'm in Go Poo Poo, Massachusetts," and like whatever.
That is a thing. Like, you have to manually do it and log it, because that's how that website works. Is you have to actually like say where the $1 is. It's called like Where's George or something like that.
Yeah, they did. I remember seeing those. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
The FBI trying to just track us.
It'd be really interesting to see where that $1 bill ended up, if it still is.
I would love to know what happened to the McBuck.
Where is
like
the McBuck?
I like the idea of referring to all crimes as lawful no-nos. Like, as a technical term, like you're being charged for like four counts of eating babies, and like, this is a lawful no.
Oh man,
crime, because then it would make it clear that a crime was committed. So lawful sounded better.
You committed a McCrime. So, like, how long before, like when fiat currency and finally collapses and our justice system implodes, that we do get, you know, McCrimes and McBucks, but they can only control the jurisdiction of McDonald's. Like, you can only use the bucks out of McDonald's, and you can only technically commit a McCrime on McDonald's grounds. But I think at that point they're going to like own several of their businesses, so that they'll expand their reach. They'll find a way to throw you into the McBrig.
Okay, so I just did a Google image search, and I have to share with you guys the results of this. I picked up the phrase Ronald McDonald $.
Oh no. You should just share your screen.
Wait, where is this? Is this in our
That's amazing.
Oh Jesus!
Wait, where am I looking?
You're Ron, Burger Clown.
Can you see my screen?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh, there we go. Oh no. Oh no.
I love that it says Burger Clown.
yeah, that looks way more official because we just used like markers and whiteout for for the one that I did or that we did. It was a group of us. Makes me want to make another one, which I will not say that I'm going to do for sure. And I definitely don't want to suggest that anyone out there makes their own McBucks and put them into circulation.
Oh, we do not. We
You should not do that because
you
it
should
is
not do that.
Yeah, don't do it because it's illegal.
It's
However,
a lawful no-no.
if it happens, it's a lawful no-no. All right, so I think that'll probably about do it for us here. Fucking McBucks and fucking defacing federal property.
Oh, whatever. They could print more.
Yeah, that's how it works. John, thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
You got anything that you want to plug?
I'll plug the two most recent things I've done, which would be the Ease Into the Noise record that we are all on.
Yeah.
Post Block Days, which is out there on all your streaming platforms and such. And then other than that, the Boss for Oz, which we are also all on.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Several capacities. Yeah.
Jim, how about you?
Well, I'd say hopefully by now the studio's done. So if you want to watch the whole process being unfolded from beginning to end, go on over to buildingahomestudio.wordpress.com and check that out. And if you want, you can donate some McBucks to me.
Again, we're not encouraging you to make McBucks. However, it would be very funny if people did. Patrick, what do you have going on?
I don't know. Check out Smell. I put out a new single a few months back called The Heck. And actually should be putting out some new stuff pretty soon. Been kind of hacking away in the old factory studio, messing around with some drums and shit and getting some shit down. So yeah. Stay tuned for more sense.
Cool. Yeah, and hopefully by this point, I'll have completed a couple short films. I've actually been trying to write a bunch of scripts, working on one with John Green. That's a little slow moving, but in progress. And I've been writing a few shorts and working with a friend of mine on kind of getting some ideas together for that. So hopefully there will be some wheels in progress there. And also just be sure to check out the other shows on the Zero Science Network, like Clamshell Case Files, World of Commotion. And hopefully the pandemic is over, so Pandemic Casts is no longer a thing, but you can go back and check it out. Yeah, it's definitely still going to be.
Yeah, and I should probably go ahead and say check out Cactus Attack since I played drums for them for about a week until they went into quarantine. But yeah, go check that shit out.
All right, cool. So that will just about do it for us here. Thank you for listening. Be sure to leave a note, like and subscribe, all that bullshit. Leave a nice review on iTunes. That's how people will find us. Or if you're going to leave us a bad review, make it funny at least. Just really get hateful with it. Like, try to be personal about it.
Make it funny or make it super cringy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that diehard Taco Bell guy who's just like, screw these McDonald's students.
They're my sworn enemies.
Like time for TB too.
All right, so that'll about do it for us. Thanks for listening. I'm Christopher.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Jim. We'll see you in hell.
All right,
Stopping recording.
Stopping recording.